Let's start it off here. Let's start off with the Dennis Allen comments today or yesterday. A lot of comments made by DA. Love the stuff about Kyler Gordon and the possibility of him playing safety and playing nickel corner, which I just think kind of being Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. I could see him doing that. Kind of makes sense. But one thing that I thought really caught my ear when talking to him in the one-on-ones, Tom Thayer was talking to him about Austin Booker. And y'all know I was a big Austin Booker guy. I thought that he had some talent. I knew he had to add a little weight. He's only 240 pounds. I think he was 240 last season pretty much. That's what he got up to. Hopefully there is going to be some kind of increase. Going to be interesting to see not next week, 2 weeks from now at OTAs if he did gain some weight since the hires and different things like that. But when talking about him, he was like, listen, I understand he's got some moves. I like some of the things that he has on tape. I think he has talent. I don't like my defensive ends at 240.
Yeah.
Him and Thayer are talking back and forth. They're having a conversation on, okay, well, I think Thayer's telling me he's got this long arm move. He's got an inside swim move. It's just natural talent with this kid. Dennis Allen's, again, right, talking about, just a little small, but we'll see if we can get some weight there. And the one thing that I do want to address with all of this, and I said this on yesterday's video, is that he did go on to say, I'm willing to give up pounds for power. And I think that's very key in a lot of this. But when talking about the 240 defensive end, I asked, what's your ideal weight? The joke that we started with. He basically said that I don't have an ideal weight for guys like that, but I like my defensive ends 280. No. Feels like an ideal weight to me.
That sounds like a minimum.
Sounds like and I do think there is a – what he's saying essentially is that's the sweet spot for the guy that I would like to have. But, and this is why I say the pounds for power comment, right? Montez Sweat, 6'6", 262. You're not cutting Montez Sweat.
No.
You're not trading Montez Sweat at this point in his career. You're trying to ride this out with Montez Sweat. But Montez Sweat also has the power to move human beings with one arm.
Right.
That is very different, and so I think there are exceptions in all of this. But I now, right, hearing that comment, I now focus in on the draft because two things, not only just the power part of it and the weight part of it, but also the fact that when Dennis Allen was talking yesterday, that essentially what he was saying was he's really focused on the interior, and he feels like the interior has gotten better and that it has been addressed more, but doesn't sound like he's done addressing the interior of this defensive line. And to me, it really sounded like he values that interior much more than that edge. And I think that's very different priority-wise than what Bears fans have been talking about all offseason. Bears fans all offseason have been talking about what? You got to find 2 offseasons now. You got to find that edge opposite Montez Sweat. If you got to get the edge. I'm sitting there looking at Mike Green. I'm tingling. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. He's resetting the defensive line. I don't think we're getting that edge opposite Montez Sweat, boys. I think that Dennis Allen values that interior. The comments from him kind of speak to him valuing more that interior than that exterior pressure. And his belief is that if you get pressure in the interior, it allows you to get sacks from the guys on the edge. It allows Montez to be better. When you hear that, though, is that shocking when all we've heard from Bears fans, and I mean, we've said it as well, and we're Bears fans, but we've said it as well where, to me, you get the pressure inside, but if you collapse in on the quarterback, he's got nowhere to go. I'd rather have that edge guy. Dennis Allen not thinking that way.
I think it's more about understanding what defense we're running, really, so that we could have a more informed decision. Once the cover 2 came with Eberfleur, we knew what to look for. Okay, 3 technique with these type of linebackers with this type of edge, that's what they want. So it's like, what are we really getting out of Dennis Allen that he wants?
Yeah.
So to me, what makes me think, that's why I said from the beginning, does Dexter move to the edge because you want a bigger defensive end? Because we didn't know that he wanted larger defensive ends.
Yeah.
But if it's more about pressure, so like I was telling Drew earlier, I'm like, if anything, it's like almost having a 3-4 because the 3-4 is basically 3 giant defensive ends to gobble up the offensive lineman. Yeah, gobble. Yeah. That's always we've always said that. We've always said it. I'm challenging that. We have always said that. So they would take on
in the comments on that one.
They would take on the offensive lineman on the side, which would allow the linebackers to be more have the roam and blitz more. The other part what makes me think of is does Booker move to linebacker? because he's really undersized for that. So that's what I think of when you talk about the D line in terms of shaping your defense to fit what he wants.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I think. I don't think I'm really that shocked. I mean, listen, this is Dennis Allen, a top name when it comes to defense. So at this point, he would know better than us. He would know better than us.
Yeah.
My thing is like, I mean, and he's not wrong. Listen, if you get that interior pressure, it's pretty much gonna help everybody else out. I mean, I know that, and I've said it too. Where we've talked about like we have to get somebody opposite Montez Sweat, but if you do get the pressure, in the interior and they are collapsing on the quarterback, even if they don't get to him, that forces up Aaron throws. So now you got Tyreek Stevenson going after the ball. You're gonna have Jalen Johnson going after the ball. We talked about Kyler Gordon going to safety, and what that's gonna look like. That's gonna help his development as well. Playing that honey badger role. So I mean he's definitely on to something. And I feel like the fact that you also got Brisker as well that I didn't mention. This defense is very versatile enough to do that, and I think that he already is like 2 steps ahead on what he sees, even though they haven't even started OTAs.
Drew, what are your thoughts on the fact that basically we don't have a single defensive lineman on this team that fits that? Do you feel like we go into this draft and find that guy off of the edge who does fit that kind of weight?
I'm actually thinking of it in 2 different ways. First of all, it is what we have to deal with when we go from changing coaching staffs, because the previous coaching staff wanted more fast, strong edge players that could.
Is your mic up, Drew?
It should be.
You're looking real quiet on these.
No, it's working.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's good. What we're saying is that they wanted more quick, fast guys that was able to rush the passer quickly. And with this change in coaching staff, now we're going to more of how we used to have with the tractor trailer and big jumbo package in the middle. But they do say that the fastest way to the quarterback is pressure up the middle that frustrates the quarterback. Yep. Mm-hmm. But the issue is this is going to be more than a 1-year rebuild to me as far as getting the defensive line to where he wants it, because we have a lot of smaller guys, like you said, Montez Sweat. Even though he's strong, he's still on the smaller side compared to the 280 that he wants. Yeah. And then you got Booker, that's still a good end that potentially, we haven't even hit his potential yet. But I do like the idea, but I just think it's not a 1-year fix to where you can just find that in the draft this year.
Well, I don't even think they're looking in the draft this year, honestly. Like, to be honest, I think you're talking about, and how Dennis Allen sounded to me when talking to him yesterday was, you're talking about going out and adding interior pressure. You're trying to get a Kenneth Grant. You're trying to get a Mason Graham, if by the grace of God he falls to you, right? You're trying to go out there and get those big bodies in the middle that are going to affect the pressure up the middle of the quarterback. I think that to me is more where, if talking about anything, that was my big takeaway, right? Where in this draft we've said edge. They're saying no. We need to be able to get no. We need to be able to hit the quarterback and force the pressure into the quarterback's face, which, listen, it does, right? Early on in the season, when the Bears were able to get home a lot more than where it was later in the season, it was because Andrew Billings was winning his one-on-ones, Javon Dexter was winning his one-on-ones. You were forcing quarterbacks to move out of the pocket and sack on the outside, right? Like that. It's just natural.
Do you think we go back to more of a almost hybrid 4-3 then?
Well, it's going to be that anyway. I mean, you're not playing as much 42 nickel, but you are going to be in the nickel a lot. And you're going to have Kyler Gordon moving around a lot. I think you are. And listen, the thing about Dennis Allen that makes him so impressive is not only the fact that he's an aggressive defensive coach, which I think brings you into a modern era of NFL defenses, right?
Yeah.
The 4-3 that Lovey and Flus do is fine. But it's a lot better when you've got Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs in it.
Well, you need a specialized
right. It's a lot
person
better
to
when you
run
got
it.
Henry Melton up front. It's a lot better when you got
You need a Tommy Harris, you
a
need a
Tommy
Warren Sapp,
Harris, a
you need a
Warren
Hall-
Sapp,
you
like
need a Hall of Famer.
Tank Johnson.
Tank Johnson.
Yeah.
Give me a Tank Johnson in there, right? It's a lot better when you got Mike Brown on the back end, which we might have a Mike Brown with Jaquan Brisker. But like it's a defense that works if you have people who are just such great football players. A Peanut Tillman who's going one-on-one with Megatron, which you might have that too with Jalen Johnson here. But like those are the things that you need to make a regular 4-3 work. Otherwise, teams just can pick it apart because essentially it is we're waiting for you to come to us if we don't get pressure with 4. And the Bears have never been able to get pressure with 4. In this system, how Dennis Allen runs it, not only does he do a lot of mixed fronts, right? Sometimes he does run some 3-4 sets, but more times than not, he's just being aggressive. And I think that's what he wants to add here in the draft more than anything. Like, talking about the edge guys, yeah, there's a ton of edge guys in this draft that you could go after, but do they fit what Dennis Allen is looking for? And if they don't, we know the interior guys do.
Yeah. I think I was going to say, like, back to the point I was making earlier about being the 2 steps ahead, and even to Joe's point about having the special guys up front. If you look at the last 2 champs,
Special guys up front.
Special guys up front.
Yeah. Chris Jones.
I was gonna say
Jalen Carter.
Party had Jennings for the touchdown. If Chris Jones doesn't get there,
Yeah.
49ers probably win the Super Bowl.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald in the face
of
of Joe Burrow destroying a Bengals Super Bowl because Jamar Chase won his route.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jordan, you got
And Joe don't miss.
You got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. So I mean, he's definitely on to something. But you can see the way, like these last couple of Super Bowl champions. And I feel like that's what he's trying to bring. But to Drew's point, it may take some time to get the guys that he actually wants.
Well, they signed Dio,
Dangbo.
and he's 6'6", 286.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
actually Grady Jarrett is 6 feet 288.
Yeah.
So he's got a couple guys, but
Well, Grady's on the interior. Dial can play inside, outside.
Right.
I
Yeah.
actually think I do wonder with this now, right? Like, do you use is he planning to use Dial more on the outside? We keep saying, well, he's dangerous because you can put him in the middle.
no, I thought it was
Dial might be getting active on the outside
Yeah.
now
That's what I'm
because
saying.
he fits that
Yeah.
mold.
right. And then Billings is 6'1", 311. Dexter's 6'6", 312. It would be interesting if they end up moving or kicking Dexter on the outside, which was my initial thought from when this all kicked off. But
I doubt it. I doubt you move Dexter to the outside. I think they do want those waves in the interior.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, it's not even right. Their focus is the interior.
yeah.
That's how Dennis Allen says. He's like,
Yeah.
you got some guys out there, yeah, they're going to get sacks. And you know how to get sacks easier? If the quarterback is running directly into their arms.
I know, but I, from what I do remember from watching New Orleans in the past, they had a lot of edge rush, and they're like Vilma used to rush the passer off the edge. So to me, I don't think they even drafted a lot of huge guys. I'm not a Saints fan, so to speak, to know everybody on their team, but I don't remember their
weight-wise
drafts.
and all of that. Yeah.
I don't remember their drafts enough to remember seeing that they had these huge guys across the whole line. I remember them having solid guys, 260, 270, 275.
Yeah.
But I don't remember seeing a lot of the huge people, on
Well,
their
I mean,
defense.
I think again that goes back to what he was saying about I'm willing to give up pounds for power, right? The small guy on that defensive line is Carl Granderson. Carl Granderson just strong as heck. But he's a little bit lighter. He's 265. You got the one guy they brought in that I guess just is the weird one in that is Chase Young. But again, he's 265. He's power. He can get around the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It's exceptions to the rule.
he did, and the one thing I will give him credit for, he did draft Kool-Aid McKinstry. So shout out to that for
That
for
was
Dennis
JC's
Allen.
guy. That
For
was
Dennis
JC's
Allen
guy.
keeping it black down there.
That
We was
was
cracking up
JC's
because when we looked it up last year in the draft, I was like, I think his real name is like Jaquindon Jackson.
Yeah.
I was like, Kool-Aid.
I keep saying it. You trying to get these dudes paid. They're like, they
Oh yeah! Like every time I get an interception, oh yeah. But no, I think listen, there was some size down there in New Orleans, and they've had those bigger guys, but I think the conversation around that though is just, to me, it does kind of solidify what we had heard, because it seemed asinine to us before hearing this from Dennis Allen that how do you not go edge? It only makes sense to go edge. You literally only have edge left that we have a question mark at. And I think this conversation with Dennis Allen today really speaks to the fact that
There's no edge.
I don't
Nope,
care
no
about
edge.
the edge.
No edge.
Well,
All
if you look
middle.
at, I mean, his
Especially
D-line,
with the DBs too. You got to take that into account too, right? If there's pressure on a quarterback's face, I mean, a quarterback is going to make a quick decision. You just re-signed Kyler Gordon. You just re-signed T.J. Edwards. You got Jalen Johnson on the contract. You're trying to build up Tyreek Stevenson, who we'll talk about here in a second. You got Brisker back there. You got Byard back there. Pressure on the quarterback's face is going to make a quarterback have to make a quick decision that he may not want to make. Said, Hut, oh, snap, you in
So,
front of me. I got to get
question
rid of
for
this
you.
football,
I.e. Will Levis.
i.e. Will Levis, and now all of a sudden that ball's going the other way.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think Mason Graham is the new Tommy Harris?
Mason
Graham
is him.
will not get to
Well,
us, and he will be better than
but-
Tommy Harris.
it's not but Tommy Harris was for that Lovey defense.
Yeah.
it's more like
But his
Uh,
impact, though.
uh,
His
uh,
impact. He impacting that in the middle
No.
was phenomenal.
yeah, of course, but but Tommy was specialized as a 3 technique that they wanted for that scheme. To your point, or your question would be, is he more like the Keith Traylor or the Ted Washington? Like, we need a big jumbo guy that would, Philip Daniels, for example, was a large defensive end that they ran on that type of defense.
That may not be a bad comp, though.
And Cameron
Well,
Jordan,
Man-
It's Mason.
he's
Mason Graham,
296 pounds. He's a big boy.
He Tommy Harris.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
He's Tommy Harris, 6'3", 296.
But-
Tommy
but-
Harris, 6'3",
but-
295.
but-
he's
Mason-
right about.
He
No,
Tommy
you're
Harris.
right about in terms of impact. but
Good
it was-
call. I think he'll be a better player than
What
Tommy.
I'm saying, it's not that.
Tommy was cold, though.
It's more about how Warren Sapp. Tommy Harris was in the line of the Warren Sapp type of the 3 technique of that defense. And what he's saying is like he's looking for big jumbo guys, which would be, they eat up the space. So yeah, he's going to definitely do.
I
some
mean, that's
impact,
what
but
he's talking
It's
about.
not eat up space, but they also he wants pressure.
He wants the pressure.
He doesn't want to set the line.
he's-
He wants them to go forward.
Yes.
Just not
Yeah.
Yes,
not stagnant.
he's talking about on the edge. He wants the 280. I think he still wants the more of the skill guys that can get through, right? But they're going to be bigger naturally in the middle,
Yeah.
right?
No.
You're not going to go out there and get an undersized dude. If you're playing in the middle of the line, 295 is the minimum.
No. He's right in terms of impact of what that player is for that defense. So I agree with him. If Mason Graham could be that guy to impact this defense, that would be
I think
amazing
he's
on a rotation.
Hey, what did I say too? Remember the episode? What I say on the episode about when they had that video on 1920 Drive, and everybody was like, Pat, why would he be talking about him? And Dennis Allen got up and leaned over and was like, well, we got him rated on our board.
Yeah.
And
Hey.
he wasn't talking about Stacey Dales on that TV.
By the way,
Stacey Dales coming off the edge, though, might be solid.
By the way, Kenneth Grant is 340.
That's a big boy.
Yeah.
That's a big boy. That's
He's
a 3
340.
technique right
Nolan
there.
is 305. Mason
Yeah.
Graham is 296, and this cat Derek
Harmon.
from Oregon is 310. 6'5",
I like,
310.
and you don't want to know what? I think that's the one that I would watch closely with all of this, right? The conversation when they were talking about the possibility in an ESPN article about taking Genty at 10 and then trading back into the first to try and get a defensive tackle. Derek Harmon is going to be one of those guys at the end of the first. Derek Harmon just wins.
Mm-hmm.
His pass rush win rate is I'm beating you. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Like he gets through the line at an efficient rate. He closes out quickly. He does have a little bit of an issue with the running back getting by him, which could be a problem for you. Missing tackles on that. But again, that pressure created in the face of a quarterback.
But if he's also added to a nice rotation of a team,
Yeah, that's a bad man.
yeah,
I like a Derek Harmon.
Yeah.
I like a Derek Harmon, man. But we'll see what ends up happening here in the draft. We got 6 more days till the draft. The draft party is going to be a great time, and the Chicago Bears are going to get in there on day 1 and dominate. What if they trade back? What if they trade clean out the first round? We just in the event. We just in the event. We just get the heck up out of there.
day.
Well,
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Right. As the Simpsons meme, I'm gonna get up out of here.
Let's just start drinking. Let's keep this thing moving along, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do.